Alright folks, we're taking a look currently at some of the styles here on the PTS. This is currently the medium Stags of Zen style. Oh, the Azura Blight helmet. This style's not too bad, I don't think. Interesting, I'd say. I think it kind of gets to me. The backs here, I mean, it kind of looks like a parkour outfit or something like that. It's missing the elbow pads. Axes are pretty cool. Dagger is interesting. It seems kind of big for a dagger. Looks like a fan, to be honest. Axe and a sword. Ooh, the sword is actually kind of... It kind of looks scaly, like it is, like it's part of like dragon scales coming from it. Even the mace is kind of scale-like. Very cool. Battle axe two-hander. Look at the bow. Ooh, I actually like that. It's a little more unique than I've seen for most bows, especially because it's like two. It's like 2 or 3 pieces in one. Also, nice quiver. Should be a great sword here, right here. Very similar to the sword, but like it's his own unique style in this one. Yeah, I can dig it. We should have a shield here as well. It is a Stag's Zen, so it has a stag on this. I don't know, it's kind of weird that this is... It says very, like, dragon-like aspects to the weapons, but then the armor here and here... Like, it's an antelope head, it's antelope horns versus a stag horns on the shield? Not sure those two go together. Like, you take a look at the shield versus the horns on the helmet. You're gonna be like, those two don't match. Like, where's the synergy on that, right? Oh, alright. Alright, let us take a look at some of the heavy versions of this. Again, antelope horns, sort of a stag beetle head. Shoulders are a little weird with the spikes coming off the back. And also keep in mind, this is heavy. But it still seems skimpy, like you can still see a navel. Hi there. I mean, that doesn't look heavy to me. Alright, let's see if we can find the light. Alright, so we start off with the light armor here. Interesting, this doesn't look like the same. It has, well, maybe it's just the coloring of it, but looks very different here compared to the medium and the heavy. The heavy just seemed like it was tacked on with some extra stuff here. The light here doesn't seem like any lighter to it. In addition to that, the horns here are not the kind of gazelle ones here, and they actually seem like they would go with the shield. Very bizarre. Then Zen's robes. I mean, I like the light in this one here, I think, but it's just a stark difference between light, medium, heavy. All right, let's take a look at the helmet that comes out of this one as well. Marcelak's visage. Kind of weird that the base color here is red, but the signature color to Marcelak is blue. Also, not sure. I mean, I guess it's not a dragon helmet in the truest regard. I mean, it's you're hunting a dragon, you're taking its scales off, but it doesn't have any dragon-like features to it either. Alright, that was Stags of Zen. Take a look at some Moongrave stuff here. Okay, Dorzarkar's. Is that a Moongrave with the vampires. And already I'm liking it. It has a very, like, Khajiit look, Khajiit almost Akaviri look to it. With that ponytail, it kind of looks a little, Imperial as well. The shoes, like, the pointed up on the shoes is, I think it's... It kind of sings back to Akaviri, but it's also like Khajiit style in this. At least I am a Khajiit, so it kind of goes with it. But all right, let's take a look at the weapons as well. Axe and dagger. Interesting, not bad. Definitely Khajiit look. Mace and sword. Khajiit on the hilt, but the blade is sort of Redguardish. That hammer looks like a bop 'em hammer. Like one of the ones you go to the arcade with to bop some things with. Before I get into the two-handers, let's go to the shield here. I think I have it here. Ooh, very nice shield. I like that. Like in the first person. Oh yeah, that does look nice. Carries in the style pretty well, and I could actually, like, this is what the difference I was seeing in the other one here. Like, I can match this helmet to this shield fairly well, I think. Yeah, so that's I like this. I like this a lot better than the other style here. So that's a medium set. This is a light. I guess we'll skip around here, but this is a light Moongrave. Still, looks like the other set here a little bit. Doesn't have as much metal. Interesting with the ears. Kind of pointed up like that. Still keeps the tassel on the back. Definitely looks lighter than the other one, but has its own like flair to it. Yeah, I can definitely dig this one too. Where is the... There's a row. Yeah, I definitely can see this one working out pretty good. Now here's the heavy. Reynolds Greaves. Batons. Oh yeah. I mean, it still seems kind of light compared to like other heavy armors I've seen. You got the full. Just making sure here. Okay. Yeah, it has this like kind of weird tuft here that I don't recognize on the medium there. Definitely heavier than the others, but not as heavy as I've seen in some others. Good mask. Again, got the tuft in the back there. And yeah, I can recognize all three styles as being this motif now. Alright, let's try on this, this dungeon monster's head here. I think that's it, right? Grundlewolf. That is Moongrave, right? Because it doesn't have anything I can recognize to it. Veteran Moongrave Fane, yeah. I'm guessing those are dragon horns coming out and you have an imperial, like, schist to the top. But the face is kind of like Ordinator style or something. I don't know. It's weird. It's almost imperial-esque. You got the red diamond to it and everything like that, so it definitely looks imperial, but I don't know. It just doesn't spark me to associate it with the other armor. Let me know what you guys think. Now, as for the sets themselves, well, there's been a lot of debate back and forth here. I'd just say that the monster helm itself for Grundlewolf, I don't see being useful. It's 200 of one stat, 100 magic or like 100 recovery of the other stat. And the weapon critical, spell critical is for hybrid builds, which don't really work out well in PvP right now. The Marsalok one is interesting, and I will say it has potential burst combination, especially that it increases to 5% every negative effect on the enemy. So if you have a group and everyone's focus firing somebody with dots, and you bash and you use this ability, yeah, that's gonna be nasty. But I think the interesting thing about this is the fact that you can control when it goes off. You don't have an RNG factor to this as you do with other ones where you just like light attack, and then hopefully it's going to go off. It goes off when you bash, which you're going to bash in certain cases, but not like as a full rotation. So I kind of like it from that principle, that it's more skillful, that you have to know when to bash and use it right and trigger it, versus just something that's just like, put it on and maybe it'll go off when I want it to. From the sets in either area, Azura Blight here, weapon critical, stamina recovery. When damage takes time with overtime effects, a Blight Seed, a target for 5 seconds. After 20 stacks, Blight Seed explodes. 11k damage. Now this seems like it takes a while to stack up, and it might. However, when you think about anytime you're getting a tick of damage with an over a dot, that this is stacking up here. So like you use poison injection, that initial poison injection is going to give it a tick, and then every subsequent tick on top of it, it's going to do it as well. It also works with AoE abilities that are dots. So you could potentially have this go off and then work as a bomb inside of a group. And if you're really good about it, you could also have this go off, make sure that you target one guy, get him down there, have him blow up. You've got to wait that 2 seconds to make sure that the cooldown hits, and then hit your next guy to go off at the same time. If you could do something like that, it could be very powerful, assuming that you could get the timing right, make sure that people stay together, etc. Then it could be like a real Zerg buster. But it's definitely going to be played against all the gank players out there, and it's definitely not going to work that well against Templars who are constantly purging their groups. Defiled Dragon. This is Marcella was all. Heavy, stamina, health, and when you take damage from melee attacks, you gain corrupting aura for 5 seconds. Applies a minor fracture, minor breach to enemies near you. Potentially useful in PvP. You go in there, you go in, you block, and you just hold it and let people get themselves minor maim and minor breach. So the more damage is going to be coming on top of them. But there's other sources for this as well. I would probably not recommend. I definitely wouldn't recommend it for PvEers. And PvPers probably have better ways to do it, or their enemies dead before the time that it's useful. Do I have the other one on? No, I have it's down here somewhere. Okay, and then the light armor set for this. Match recovery, spell damage, match magicka, and when your light attacks apply a touch of Zen to an enemy for 20 seconds. Enemies with touch of Zen take an additional 2% damage to each damage over time effect you placed on them, up to 10%. You can only receive a benefit of 1 touch of Zen per enemy. Don't know if this is going to be strong or bad, but addition 2% for each damage over time effect you've placed on them. So this, I'm kind of happy to see this wording. I was a little concerned earlier because if it was going to be 2% more damage for everyone, then that would be another broken set that's going to be required for trials and possibly used in PvP. Having it so it's a 2% only for you, and so you only get a 10% boost, may or may not be breaking. I'd probably see this on a Flame DK, maybe a Sork, but definitely Flame DK because they work a lot with dots. An extra 10% though, is it going to be better using something like Silks of the Flame or Silks of the Sun or Burning Spell Weave instead? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Alright, we've already gone over these. Alright, let's go over Durazak's here, medium. Physical penetration, weapon critical, stamina recovery, and for every bleed effect that you have on an enemy, increase your weapon damage by 200 against them. Not sure, but I gotta take a look to see how many sources of bleed that you can produce on an enemy. From what I know right now, you have the two-hander cleave, you have the blunt and bleed that you can get from Dew Wield, you have the shit, what's the other one? Blunt and bleed, blood craze that you can use, you have lacerate that you can use, which is the ultimate, so you can't keep that up, regardless. And You have the werewolf bleed as well, so that's like maybe 4 sources, so you can get maybe 800 weapon damage out of that. Two-hand and dual wield are separate from each other. That is correct. But I'm just trying to imagine how you could get it. Now, yeah, that's another issue as well. That the bleeds that you do on it, like if you're going to use a werewolf bleed, for example, you can't get the werewolf bleed when you have cleave going on and you also have blood craze going on, because you're going to have to be able to weapon swap in it. You can't do it in the ultimate. So I know 3 solid sources of bleed, at least, that you could do with weapon rotation and everything else like that. I don't know anything else that, well, actually there is an armor set that does bleed as well. Is there a monster helm that can do it too? I don't think so. So, yeah, I'm struggling to think of where you can get extra bleeds from. Maybe that's enough though. You know, you have 4 places for that you could raise your weapon damage up to 400, up to 800. Pillars bleed, but no, there's another set that's in the Moonhunter Keep one that's any light attacks or heavy attacks. Pretty sure it's light attacks. Will apply a bleed on an enemy. So you use that one, and it's a pretty constant bleed that you can put onto enemies here. The only one that's going to be variable is going to be the Twin Blunted bleed. So that's a bleed. That's not a bleed. That's not a bleed. I don't care. Applies a bleed over the time of the enemy. Yeah, and I don't know anything else. There might be I'm probably missing a class-based one there somewhere, so apologize for that. So if you can find other sources of bleed, you can technically get up to 10k weapon damage for putting bleeds on, which might not be bad. They did nerf bleed so it doesn't bypass armor, but still, like 10k weapon damage on almost anything. So sorry about that. We got sidetracked trying to think about what we can put that on. So that was the bleed. Holofang. Spell critical, match magicka, spell critical, and when you critically heal or critically damage a target, you spawn a ball of healing goblin at their location. After 2 seconds, the ball explodes, restoring 3,470 magicka and applying minor vitality to you and your allies in 6 meters of the ball for 9 seconds, increasing the healing received by 8%. This effect can occur once every 9 seconds. I think this one here is going to be a good healer build in general. For trials and for groups as well. So anytime you apply a critical heal or critical damage, I mean, it gives minor vitality, so it saves up the healer from having to do it. It gives magicka back for magicka groups, which I think that is going to be something that people are going to want for trials right there. At the very least. Maybe 1 or 2 people running it. I'll put it this way. If you had this set on for trials, and you're consistently getting critical heals, then that's going to save you from having to possibly do sorry, I'm trying to remember what it was. Extra ability, susceptible to elements there. Guys, I'm hurting my head. Weakness to elements and elemental drain. Yeah. So yeah, that possibly saves you from having to do elemental drain, given the amount of magic it's given back every 9 seconds it goes off. Though 9 seconds plus 2, probably 11 seconds to be more accurate. And it gives it to anyone that's in the area of it too, which is another good thing. I think I have the last set on. Oh. Okay, so this is the last one from Moongrave. Max health, healing taken, max health. When you deal direct damage, you gain stack of resolve for 10 seconds. Each of these stacks increases your healing taken by 1% and increases your physical and spell resistance by 4,020. So, this gives you each stack. Okay, and you can only gain 1 stack of resolve every 1 second. You can have max of 8 stacks of resolve. So if I just get the calculator out right here, you'll be looking at so you're gonna look at 80% more heals and then 420 more resistance, right? Times 8, 3,360 resistance, as long as you keep on taking damage. Not sure if that's good or bad, really. It's probably overkill for most tank builds out there. For PvP, it might be useful because of the heals and the armor it gives you. It is not bad, but it's also just max health, stamina, or sorry, max health over any type of stamina or magicka that you might need to actually run abilities with. So, not sure if it's going to be good or bad. I'd probably say it's probably going to be like another pariah set that just is. It sounds good on paper because it gives you more resistances here, but you don't use the resistances as much as you think in a lot of groups. Anyways, that is the new sets. Pretty interesting. I like some of the looks of some of them there. Other ones, I think they need tweaking. They don't seem like they have enough relation to the other ones, in my opinion. But I still have to run the dungeons too, so maybe I'll be surprised when I go through.